Myself, the team, and everybody is very excited to get to know more on this panel discussion. Libya is this special, beautiful country, needs support after long years of trouble. Under an infrastructure perspective, we therefore host this special panel discussion with representatives from Libya and the state of Qatar. And I'm very happy to hand over to Ms. Hala Bugaighis. Hala is director of Jusoor Center for Studies and Development, and she's a non-resident fellow of the Panelist Institute. She is senior Libyan consultant and researcher with more than 18 years of extensive experiences in Libya, in which 13 years focused on the Libyan corporate and investment law. Hala, I'm very delighted to have you with us as session chair of this panel discussion, and I will leave the floor for you now to introduce our panelists to everybody.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you. And thanks for all the keynote speakers. It was very enlightening to hear their intervention. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining this session. As you all know, Libya went through a challenging transition throughout the years. And today, Libya is going at another new transitional phase that not only provides hope for peace and stability, but it has a very busy and very ambitious reconstruction and development plans and agenda. And that's why we are here today to discuss Libya reconstruction. I'm honored to have a round of special guests today and who I am sure will enrich this discussion. First and foremost, let me welcome His Excellency Mr. Gamal Ali, the Chairman of the Ministry of Economy and Trade, Privatization and Investment Board. He will be our first guest today. Our second guest will be Mr. Ali bin Abdulatif Al Mesned, a Qatari business figure who had an allotted share in the overall development of Qatar in terms with the extensive business models of his companies, Al Mesned International Holding, and also his company, Al Baida Group. Mr. Al Mesned. Qatar Chamber of Commerce and Industry, among other organizations that he is busy working on. And last but not least, we have Mr. Imad Saed, a senior expert financial management in MENA region. Since 2008, Mr. Saed provided technical advice and led teams in major projects funded by international organizations working in Libya. And without any further ado, I want to invite Mr. Gamal to share with us the recent and serious reform made by his organization to make the business environment more attractive for foreign investors. Hello, yes. Hi,
yes,
Mr. Gamal.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Mr. Ali and Mr. Imad. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
First of all, thank you very much for having me with you today to talk about the investment in Libya and how things is going on. As you know, Libya went through a lot of problems for the last 10 years, and with the new government which has been selected or appointed since March, we are working hard to change the image about Libya and about the investment in the entire country. There are a lot of rumors, a lot of bad news about Libya, which we have to work on it and to clear it and to just send the proper or the right information and what's going on in Libya. Recently, the Libyan government with the Prime Minister and the entire or the whole cabinet working to make or to send a very clear message that Libya is a very clear, very safe country. There is no problem. A lot of investors coming to invest in Libya. We have what they call it. Actually, the law that I'm going to talk about it, law number 9. It has been approved by the previous parliament in 2010, which gives a lot of incentives and privileges to the investors, such as we are giving like 5 years, no tax, no custom duties. We are providing, we have what they call it one-stop shop to provide all the necessary information about the projects. Libya's location is one of the most advantaged for all investors. As you know, the location, we are nearby Europe. We have a borders with 7 countries, especially if we look into the south, we have border with Chad, Niger, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Sudan. So that gives us a lot of advantages to have free zones, or to have industrial park. Libya, as of today, we can say that the hustle and the problems that we went through, especially between the east side and the west side, and the conflict between the 2 central banks, recently, last March, it has been unified, and now we have one Libyan central bank. The exchange rate is stable with some. We can say that based on the market, the exchange rate is changing between time to time, like with less than 2%, which will never affect the market in any way. Last month, we organized a conference. We have invited a lot of businessmen from Europe, from North America, from the Middle East, from the Far East as well. In the end of this month, we will have a big conference, which is going to be organized by the Arab Chamber of Commerce. And we expected to have 400 investors from the, most of them going to be from the Arab countries. We have a lot of projects. We are going to offer it or to talk about it. And we hope that we can have some investors in oil and gas sector, in construction material, also in renewable energy, which we are, as of today, focusing on it. We don't want to have the what they call it, the electricity by the old ways. We are looking for those companies who are interested in renewable energy. So we have too many projects. We have some ongoing projects as well. We have 2 investors from Germany. They are interested in what they call it, producing steel and having a big factory with a partnership with one of the Libyan companies. So in general, by the way, we are looking for some companies to invest in infrastructure, such as ports, airports, some other locations that we would like to have also some companies to invest with the existing companies which are belongs to the government. And the private sector in Libya is very active these days. For the last 10 years, There are too many projects in what they call it food industry and construction. Our aim is to open Libya for all investors who are looking to export to Africa. As you know, we have the energy is very low compared with some other parts of the world. If you enjoy the law number 9, will give you, as I said before, will give you some advantages and some privileges, which you will never get it somewhere else. So this is in general what I would like to say about the investment or what's going on in Libya recently.
Receive many questions with regards to the investment opportunities and opportunities for the FDI in Libya. Now I want to direct the question to Mr. Ali. We've just heard Libya, and given Qatar's support to Libya unity and stability efforts in the recent years, in your opinion, Mr. Ali, how can Libya benefit from the experience of this? Mhm.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. Thank you so much, Hala, and good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I'd like to extend my thanks to the organizer for such important conference. And also, I would like also to welcome all panelists and participants on this particular conference. I'm very much also thankful for everyone and very grateful that I have the chance today when it comes to infrastructure and economy. Let me also say that Qatar governments and also the people of Qatar really and deeply wish the best for our brothers in Libya and the rest of the world. Qatar and Libya have enjoyed very good relationship, in the history of the both countries. And lately also the bilateral relationship has been also increasing. Qatar have had so many, yes. The bilateral relationship between Qatar from Libya. Qatar have attended so many international conferences to support the Libya stability, economy, and growth. The last one was last week in Paris, and Qatar have showed the whole. So if I may continue, please.
Yes,
Yes,
we're listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Well, when it comes to the economical side of the relationship, let's start by saying that Libya and Qatar has nearly identical economy and also identical local geographical positioning. Qatar and Libya depends heavily on the oil and gas sectors for their incomes, which is so it means that there is identicals in the economy. Also, the population, between the numbers of population in both countries are nearly the same. Well, what we can say here that Qatar have had vast experiences of building the country since the developing of the oil, in Qatar in 1948. So since 1948 until now, there has been a huge development in all sectors, including oil and gas, infrastructures, hospital, and basic. And as everybody knows that Qatar is hosting the 2022 World Cup next year. So in the last 10 years since we have also won this the hosting of such event, so the development of the country went into different directions. We have totally new airports, totally new ports, total infrastructure for the rail, the metros, and so on and so forth. Also, and when it comes to the educations and health, Qatar has also expanded in their development plan. So in all over, Qatar has a very, very big experiences in different fields, and we will be more than happy as a private sectors really to convey the experiences and the know-how that we have had in Qatar to our brothers in Libya. I wish really, from my point of view, to say the following. We would like that our brothers in Libya that do not go through the learning curve that any economy can start with, because learning curve can cost a lot. So, we have gone through this, and maybe other nations have gone through the learning curve of how to do economy, how to monitor, and so on. So, my advice seriously is to capitalize, okay, on the know-how that us in Qatar private sectors can really convey to our brothers in Libya. As I said, to stand for Libyan stability, for Libyan growth, for Libyan people, to really would like to see Libya to be the best in Africa and in the world. And we are happy to extend our experiences, as I said, and know-how for Libya and for other also part of Africa.
Mhm.
If I have answered this, then if you have any other question, Hala, I'll be more than happy also
Yeah,
to answer it.
listening to you, I was wondering how can your institution specifically.
Can I just also add one important thing,
Please.
Hala, if you allow me, please?
Sure, please go ahead. Please go
Sure,
ahead.
sure. Okay, before I answer this question, okay, let me also suggest that, I mean, for our brothers also in Libya, it's very important, seriously, to have a vision for, yeah, it is very important to have a vision for the country. I'm sure that our brothers in Libya are thinking about this. So it's called a country vision, okay? And then you put along with that something called the master planning for the country, and so those two steps are very important to start any development, so everybody are the same page of developing the country. Now, when it comes to Al Mesned International Holding, my own company, we are well established in Qatar for so much of a long time. We are more than happy again, as I said, to join forces with our counterparts, businessmen and women in Libya, and also international, parties, to either invest in Libya if there is any way we can invest, in bringing also the Qatari. Yes. So yes. Finally, I mean, we as Al Masd International Holding, we are in the process, because we strongly believe that the economy of Libya is really moving ahead very soon. So we believe that there are huge and ample opportunities. So we would like really to share with our brothers from Libya and also international players, the chance to work together as JVs and implement, and execute the projects and invest in Libya. We have already established the first steps to establish our entities in Libya's, legal entities. So we hope that also we visit Libya in a due course to look at and listen to our brothers there for the opportunities coming ahead. Thank you, Hala.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali. This was very insightful intervention. I want to ask development sector. You know more about the challenges going on at the moment in the reconstruction phase. So first, I want to address one national issue before going to more localized issue. So how can electricity is one of the major challenges going on. How can we work on that, in your opinion? Please, Mr. Imad, the floor is yours.
Couldn't hear you well, Hala. Lost you for a while. Couldn't hear the question.
Sure. I was asking you about, one of the challenges, the sector that have serious challenges is the electricity, power and electricity sector in Libya. And I was wondering, given your experience in Libya, how can this be improved? What needed for reform or
All right.
Mhm.
Uh, Thank you.
Welcome.
Um, I think what's needed is in two directions. The first one is to improve the electricity generation. I mean, the power in Libya, which needs to, to go. It, to go through substantial reform and think of other alternatives, like Mr. Dr. Jamal mentioned. Exploring other potentials of generating electricity. Take into consideration Libya has a wide area, desert area, where solar energy could be one of the good solutions for Libya. And there has been studies on that. If solar energy is installed in the western desert in Libya, could be sufficient for all Africa. I don't know. That can be very accurate. In addition, there is an administrative management reform within the company and the overall system. Electricity distribution needs to be reformed. Municipalities don't have a substantial role to play. Prepaid meters could be installed in Libya. I know this is kind of a revolutionary thing in Libya, but Libya has experienced the big revolution, the most difficult revolution, and I'm sure and I trust they can go, they can do that. Where municipalities could play a role similarly to many other countries where they have installed prepaid meters and municipalities formed electricity distribution companies and not private sector companies. It's public companies. I know public companies in Libya is not a very successful model if we take into consideration the public sanitation companies. But here we're talking about, if you'd like to say distribution utilities, not companies. In brief, it's owned by municipalities. The distribution, just I'm talking about the distribution, and managed private sector way, meaning the management has to be to make revenue because municipalities don't make profit, are not supposed to make profit, and they make revenue. That will improve the and cut the losses and the collection rate, which has been substantially low in Libya, and stand to be corrected by Dr. Jamal. At least in the past few years, it did not exceed, it was around 20% the collection rate, which causes continuous financial bleeding for the government, and should stop at some point, and has to stop at some point. In brief, it's in two directions: reforming the electricity generation along with transportation of the power electricity, the transportation lines, and the public company itself to be reformed, public electricity company, and to take into consideration enabling a distribution role for municipalities for paving the road for the private sector at some point to step in distribution similar to other countries. And what's even most pressing at this point is, as I mentioned, is stop the bleeding of the budget, because it's mostly covered by the subsidy chapter of the Libyan national budget. I hope I answered your question, Hala.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Now, if you allow me, I want to ask what's the infrastructure investment when it comes to municipalities in Libya? I mean, for instance, to improve the solid waste, or maybe the water and sewage network. I'm sure that you can give us, can enlighten us in this point. Please.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's another very pressing need in Libya. And again, I stand to be. I'm being very careful with Dr. Jamal's presence. He's in Libya. I'm not. I've been in Libya until late 2019. Till then, and I don't think this situation has very much improved ever since. Solid waste was a very, a big problem in Libya, where the solid waste management, the 23 public sanitation companies, which, thanks to Allah, it has been dismantled now, uh, which I've been pushing for when I was in Libya, because they were not performing, up to standard. You could see garbage everywhere and in the capital, Tripoli, which is very unfortunate. But nowadays, the Minister of Local Government and new government, the Government of National Unity, has been taking serious, substantial, important steps. And I fully agree with Dr. Gamal. The situation has very much improved in terms of security, in terms of reform. We are witnessing now, serious reforms in many sectors. One of which is the solid waste management, where the collection has been transferred to municipalities, which is one, good step, right direction. Here we need to support municipalities that here there are few questions. Municipalities need the infrastructure. That's one thing. I mean by infrastructure, the solid waste equipment, including trucks, containers. In addition to that, which is not less important, is the capacities, to develop the capacities of the municipalities, because it's going to be the first one for municipalities to perform such role. And in addition, to develop capacities, to develop, for example, collection routes, collection plans, tendering documents, which at the time when I was working for USAID back in 2018 and 19, we provided technical assistance to the Ministry of Local Government and 24 municipalities to do that. That's for solid waste management collection, but landfill rehabilitation, like Ain Zara and Abu Salim, uh, really becomes important. And for example, in Zara, every time they set the landfill on fire, it affects the electricity transformers, and that happened many times, and which causes to cut the electricity grid. And the Abu Salim landfill is overloaded. It's more, and it's become now became in the middle of an inhabited area. Needs to be reallocated. Needs to be, transferred to another place. So that requires huge work, construction of new landfills and transfer stations, and we included that in the solid waste management strategy, as I recall, which we developed for Libya at the time when I was working on the on Libya economic stabilization program in 2018 and 19, which was approved by the government back by then, government of national accord. I think it's a good strategy, which tackles the collection, landfills, and finally the recycling, where the private sector could and explained interest. We saw American and Turkish companies and Italian companies coming to Tripoli, offering to establish recycling plants. And moving to the other point you've asked, Hala, about water and sewage.
Thank you, Mr. Imad. Just for the sake of time, we have a couple of questions coming in, and I'm sure that we'll have more questions in this time allocated to it.
If I may, Hala, sorry, just on sewage, it's not less important than solid waste management. I mean, in Tripoli, and Dr. Jamal knows, I'm sure he's based in Tripoli. There are 4 main pipelines that dumps sewage into the sea. We need treatment plants in Tripoli. We need treatment plants in Libya. And here we're talking about recycled water that we could use for industry and agriculture. So it's both ways. So that needs to be needs urgent attention as well, to rehabilitate and build even sewage networks and treatment plants in almost all over Libya. Thank you.
Important and very usually we need to focus also on local investment and opportunities on the local level. It's very important indeed. I have a couple of questions that I encourage all of the participants or all of the attendees to send us question and direct them to the speaker. So first, I will about the importance of having a law that protects the right of the investors and guarantees. And I think you have briefly mentioned the law number 9, but I think maybe if you can go and explain the guarantees that yeah. Thank you, Dr.
Sorry,
Jamal.
Ms. Hala, I could not hear you clearly. If you don't mind, just to.
Sure. There is a question from Mr. Imad al-Hirshami.
Mhm.
Guarantees for that protect the foreign investors. And I know that you mentioned law number 9, but if you can just highlight the articles and the provisions that provide this guarantees and protection for the
Again, anyway, if I'm not mistaken, I could not hear the question, but let me repeat again. It seems that the question is about the uh, law number 9 to the investors. If it's the
yes, that's
I would like to thank Mr. Imad and Mr. Ali about what they said. It was a lot to mention that there is a lot of problems such as you mentioned, we have a lot of strong from the and when it comes to roads, ports, hospitals,
Dr. Jamal, we cannot really hear you. The connection is missing. So maybe if you can try to reconnect.
I think
Reconnect the question.
we lost Dr. Jamal.
Yes, I think so. And while he's trying to reconnect, I want to about the technology and digitalization projects in Libya. And I think Mr. Tahir Tayyib meant, I mean, if this will be of interest for Qatari investors.
Hala, I
Mr.
think
Ali?
yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Can you? I didn't hear the question, please.
Yes, Mr. Tahir Tayyib was asking about the technology and digitalization projects in Libya and the interest of or the prospect for Qatari investors to work in this field.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. I thank him for that question. It is very, very important. I guess now for the whole world economy is to decide and capitalize on the technologies, development. So definitely, Qatar have had vast experiences integrating the technologies in every step that we are taking nowadays. And this is, I think the whole world is moving toward this, toward the AI, toward the technologies, towards different platforms. So we'll be more than happy, seriously, to come and invest in Libya, technology and communications platforms. Qatar, by the way, we have a platform and host. For example, QSTB, Qatar Science and Park Technologies. They have had a lot of startups and running business only for technologies, and we've done a fantastic achievement on this. So by all means, I would like to thank him for the questions, and we are more than happy, seriously, to move in Libya and to execute those kind of projects along with our counterparts from Libya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali. I think we've lost the connection with Dr. Jamal. And Rana, do we still have time, or?
If we still have time, I'd like to add something, Hala.
Please go ahead, Mr. Imad.
Yeah, thank you. In addition to the important questions that you've asked about electricity and solid waste and sewage treatment, to further, elaborate on the need for the sewage networks in Libya, it's polluting, the environment by dumping as I mentioned, the four main pipelines, huge ones, in greater Tripoli area, dumping, sewage into the sea, and we can see, the pollution on the Libyan beaches, where Libyans are swimming and summer. So that's one issue. The second is, wasting the treated water, which, as I mentioned, that it could be used in, in industry. We have cement factories in Zlatan, and there is a huge potential for that. Zlatan is very, rich with the cement, and it's a very high quality cement, as I have been told. I'm not an expert in that. And similarly, the treatment plants, there aren't any treatment plants in Libya, for sewage networks. And Libya, we are talking about a huge country in terms of area. And so that also paves the road for potential, good potential, great potential for agriculture in Libya. One important point that I wanted to mention is the removal, rubble removal. We can see, lots of, rubble everywhere in Libya, and usually in Beni Ghazi and the eastern part and the western part as well. And what added to it, the recent war in April, that erupted in April 2019, and recycling of this rubble. And we all know what what can be produced, metal in addition to other materials as well, and the solid waste treatment, where they will be able to produce compost, and I won't say, generating electricity because they have oil in Libya, but that's culture has to change, that we should not depend on oil all the time and subsidy from the state. So I wanted to add these in addition to, roads construction, in terms of, reforming the roads network in Libya, both, internal and regional roads, where we will have to be looking at building new roads, new bridges, a new, transportation network. I'll stop there. I wanted to add these, new these two ideas and further elaborate on the sewage.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we will have to close the session. If anyone has would be happy to to answer them. As I mentioned at the very beginning, Libya has a very busy and very heavy and ambitious reconstruction and infrastructure plans. There is so much to do in the country, and I think that was reflected in the intervention by the three distinguished speakers. I would advise everyone to further to. I mean, since Dr. Jamal is not here, everyone can go to the law number 9 for investment in Libya, and can read about the guarantees and all of the benefits that provided for investors in the country. For now, I will have to close the session, and I'm thankful for all the speakers for enriching the discussion. And I look forward to follow your news and follow your good work in the region. Rana, I'm giving you the floor again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.